Hello, friends. I'm hoping that I'm just resting this against a window, so I'm hoping that the speaker will work. I wanted to talk today about rites of passage because, hey there, thanks for joining. I want to talk about rites of passage because I recognize that there are a lot of different schools of thought and a lot of different teachers and bodies of work when it comes to rites of passage. Or not when it comes to rites of passage, but when it comes to maiden to mother passage. And so I want to talk about my philosophy, my approach when it comes to maiden to mother. I know that Sarah Durham Wilson has a book that she recently released, and my work is in no way affiliated. I haven't even read the book. I'm a little bit familiar with her work, but her approach is metaphorical and doesn't have to do with pregnancy or birth or postpartum. It's very metaphorical. And so I've been doing work around rites of passage for a very long time, many years. Probably since I started studying shamanism, or even before that, because I took this African studies class back in college, which completely changed my life. It was probably one of the first introductions I had into shamanism. I almost studied anthropology. I took a ton of anthropology and political studies of different regions in college. And so anyways, my African studies professor was amazing. He had us read the book, The Healing Wisdom of Africa by Malidoma Patrice Somé. And I've tried to get him on my podcast. I haven't been able to get in touch with him. So if anybody has an inside scoop with Malidoma Patrice Somé, then please connect me. I'd love to interview him. But his work in The Healing Wisdom of Africa really informed so much of my life and my decisions and the ways that I look at the world. So in The Healing Wisdom of Africa, he talks about the indigenous perspective, the indigenous African perspective of rites of passage, and he talks about adolescence. He's from Ghana and has done a lot of work in the United States, and he talks about his purpose as being a bridge between like the Western world and indigenous African culture. Anyways, it's a beautiful book. And so a lot of my work has been informed by how he talks about rites of passage. So that's that. And I'll talk about maiden to mother now. So I have some notes here I wanted to look at. Maiden to mother is not metaphorical in my world. It is very literal. Only a mother, a woman who gives birth to a child or adopts a child or becomes a mother to a child, can enter the mother stage of womanhood. A woman who does not become a mother to a human child cannot enter the mother stage of womanhood. And she can enter mature feminine. Maidenhood is immature feminine, and the next stage is mature feminine or mother. And they have a lot of similarities, but they're certainly not the same. So I want to make that distinction. Also, there's no way that a mother can stay in the maiden phase after she's given birth. There are some people who have been writing this, but that's not true. A mother can be lacking certain skills or have a really hard time, especially if her initiation, her rite of passage, is not recognized by her community, but she will not stay in the maiden phase. Just as an adolescent who goes from child to adolescent is still called an adolescent, even if he or she has not been initiated and had a formal rite of passage, been welcomed into manhood or womanhood by the community. Now, the linchpin in rites of passage is really the community piece, being welcomed into the community as the next version of oneself, and having the community respect and support, recognition in the process of a rite of passage. I deeply embodied, integrated this in my Vision Quest experience when I was 28 years old. In 2015, I believe it was, I sat on the mountain in my Vision Quest with Sweet Medicine Nation, and that was my initiation into adulthood. And I have so much to say about that experience. It was a turning point in my spiritual life. It was a turning point in my individuation as a young woman. And it was a profound experience for me. I think that if adolescents were afforded that type of experience, the world would be a very different place. And when I was complete with the 9 months of preparation and the 4 days and 4 nights in the desert without food and water, I was welcomed back into the community. I entered a huge teepee full of my community, and I still remember that moment. It was a really special moment that I hold dear in my heart. And what would the world be like if there was something like this for women who were crossing the threshold from maiden to mother? If the community came together and really welcomed her into, you're a mother now, rather than everything is about the baby. How's the baby doing? How's the baby eating? Can I come over and hold your baby? No. How about, can I come over and clean your house and do your dishes and make you a meal and congratulate you on your rite of passage into adulthood? That's more like it. And I think that this is a space that postpartum doulas can really shine. And, birth workers can really shine here. And there's more than that even, right? Like, how much further can we go than that? How much more intentional, ceremonial, profound, beautiful can we make this transition, this rite of passage for mothers and for babies? And for fathers and families, because every time a woman gives birth, every time a father becomes a father to another child in the family, the mother and the father deepen into what this means for them. It becomes a new iteration of the family now. That is my experience. When my second daughter was born, there was this immense softening that happened for me. And I think for my husband too. And of course, my daughter, my 2-year-old, her sister, also had her own experience. And so welcoming all of that, the immensity of that emotion and the meaningfulness of all of that for the entire family. let's see. What else did I want to say? Yeah, I think when we compare these rites of passage from childhood to adolescence, maiden to mother, mature feminine or mother to crone or wise woman, all of these are very significant rites of passage for human beings. And there are all of these physical, or for women, I should say, men have their own rites of passage. And there are all of these physical ways that our bodies are initiating us, right? From adolescence, we enter into puberty. Women have their first menses, and this is a profound initiation into womanhood. This welcoming, and I have a program called The Transmission where we talk about how we as mothers and aunties and women can embody the sacredness of our moon time so that when our daughters and our nieces and the children, young women that we care about have their first menses, that they have a map already. They know what this is. They know what this means. They know how to act. They know how to treat their bodies because they've seen their aunties and their mothers do it since they were 2 years old or whatever. Every single month, they have a map. They have an idea of the sacredness and what is available for them. That's The Transmission, the program that I run. So, yeah, these bodily changes that happen, obviously when a woman goes from maiden to mother, there is this birthing, of course, of a baby, and then we go through the postpartum period, and our body is giving us these ordeals, and then we have a rite of passage is an ordeal. So in a formal rite of passage, like in a vision quest, what we do is we put ourselves intentionally into the place of having an ordeal and making it so deep and profound and meaningful to us that we are embodying, we are dropping into the meaning of that passage. We're not just like driving to the hospital, popping out a baby, and going home and whatever. Or we're not just handing our daughter some tampons and telling her to figure it out. That's not a proper rite of passage. And anyone who's done that, we've done the best we can, right? We always do the best we can with the information that we have. And we can, if we want to, we can go back and redo. Either shamanically in the quantum field, which I offer shamanic integration sessions, or you can go back to your daughter and say, look, I didn't do this when you had your first menses, but let's make it ceremonial and intentional this time, this month. I want to redo. And you can make it really special and with your presence as a mother. And so back to these bodily initiations, we put ourselves through an ordeal intentionally by going out on the mountain. And birth is how I did my birth, was as a vision quest. Creating all of the prayers, creating the altars, preparation, dropping in. That's 9 months of preparation, 9+ months of preparation if you have a conscious conception, which I did not. But there is so much that we can do to create meaningful and to create it as an ordeal for each other and for ourselves, welcoming each other in after the fact. And same with menopause, right? A woman goes from mature feminine or mother to queen and crone, wise woman, if she is a wise woman. Not every queen or crone gets, the title of elder or wise woman, right? Because a lot of queens and crones are walking around uninitiated, not aware of the wisdom that is being held in their body now that they're not bleeding anymore. And they're walking around as wounded children because they weren't initiated into adolescence or adulthood. They weren't initiated into maiden to mother, and they weren't initiated into queen or crone. Ouch! Ouch. And we can still go back in the quantum field and or by bringing attention to the menopause and being welcomed into our communities as wise women and not just having a title, but also embodying that title, integrating the wisdom, and being able to bring the skill that a wise woman brings in her community. So I think this is where I'll stop for now. I have so much to say about rites of passage. Like I've said, I've been working, studying, creating rites of passage for pretty much my entire adult life. And so I have written a lot about it. I have a pretty long blog post on my website if you're interested to read that. And like I said, Healing Wisdom of Africa is an absolutely wonderful book that I highly recommend. So if you're interested in Maiden to Mother mentorship, definitely reach out to me and check out the transmission and Maiden to Mother on my website in the link in my bio. I'll talk to you next time.